The first order of business, in my opinion, as I've shared with you 2 or 3 times today, should Chuck Schumer acquire the requisite determination. I'm trying very hard not to use slang that sounds pejorative. Should Chuck Schumer acquire the requisite determination to seriously get his caucus under control? Or Joe Biden pull together the requisite determination to speak to a couple of Democratic senators and say, this is what we're going to do, buddy. If that happens, number one, we need a special prosecutor or an independent counsel. We need an investigation into, I'm not so concerned, frankly, into the members of Congress and the members of the Trump administration who were involved in this attempted coup d'etat. I want a serious investigation into Christopher Miller, the former Secretary of Defense. I want a serious investigation into Bill Barr, the former Attorney General. I want a serious investigation into the people at the top, you know, the people that Trump installed, a dozen or so people that he installed in the week after he lost the election in senior management at the Department of Justice, at Homeland Security, at the Defense Department, the Department of Defense. I want a serious investigation of these folks. The second order of business needs to be to clean up our elections. So in other words, number one, let's identify the traitors and ring fence them. Prosecute them, out them, no longer tolerate their presence in our midst, you know, however you want to characterize them. And in that process, help awaken average American citizens who have been indoctrinated by right-wing hate radio and Fox News purely to make money, as far as I can tell. These people who have been indoctrinated by these people and believe things that are not true, to help them wake up. Because you're not going to wake them up. You're not going to convince them that it's not true that Joe Biden stole the election or corrupt Republican officials in Arizona and Georgia were in on it and stopped the steal and all this kind of BS. You're not going to convince them that it's not true after they've heard so many times from so many people they trust and believe, you know, the Tucker Carlsons of the world. They have heard this so many times that you're not going to get through it until you make it just, you know, incredibly obvious. Here are the crimes. And I think we've got to do a serious purge of Congress. We have 147 members of Congress. But I think it's 140 in the House and 7 in the Senate who voted with the traitors after the attempted treason, after the attempted coup. So that's first order of business. Second order of business, getting our elections under control so that they are clean. Stopping Republican efforts. 47 states now have had voter suppression laws introduced. It looks like something just a little short of 20 states will probably have them in place in time for the 2024 election. Maybe a dozen of them in time for the 2022 election. It's already happened in 4 states. And a big piece of this is getting control of dark money. Because what is the oxygen that keeps these treasonous Republicans going? It's money. Which brings us to Emergent Biosolutions. This is a company that has a giant factory in Baltimore. They are heavily supported by the federal government. The federal government is their main customer. This whole thing started back during the anthrax scare. And now I believe it was the Trump administration, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure, the Trump administration and AstraZeneca hired them, or Johnson & Johnson, excuse me, hired them to manufacture, to kind of co-manufacture the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And you'll recall this story from a couple of weeks ago. Whoa, you know, there's like this vaccine manufacturer is having to throw out 10, 15 million doses of vaccine because they were contaminated in the assembly, in the manufacturing process. It turns out this company has been just terribly run for a long, long time, and yet they continue to get millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, your tax dollars, my tax dollars, through the federal government. Now, how is that happening? Well, let me refer you to a piece in today's New York Times by Cheryl Gay Stolberg, Chris Hamby, and Rebecca Ruiz, titled Troubled Vaccine Maker and Its Founder Gave $2 million in Political Donations. And I just want to share just a couple of short excerpts from this piece, this brilliant investigative reporting done by the New York Times. The founder and the executive chairman of Emergent Biosolutions, his name is Faoud El-Hibri. He is today appearing before a subcommittee in the House of Representatives to try to explain how his Baltimore plant ruined millions of doses of coronavirus vaccine. And here's where it gets interesting. And let me just read this sentence to you, the first sentence of the article. When Faoud El-Hibri, founder and executive chairman of Emergent Biosolutions, appears Wednesday before a House subcommittee to explain how the company's Baltimore plant ruined millions of doses of coronavirus vaccine, he will be questioned by lawmakers he and his employees spent tens of thousands of dollars helping to elect. And then they go into the federal campaign records. Mr. El-Hibri and his wife, Nancy, have donated at least $150,000 to groups affiliated with the top Republican on the panel. That's Republican Steve Scalise of Louisiana, the guy who famously ran for election in Louisiana saying he was David Duke without the baggage. No hood here. But hey, I'm David Duke. He's the chair of the subcommittee that this guy is appearing before today. Two other members of the subcommittee have also received substantial donations from this company's Political Action Committee, their PAC, which has given, quoting now from the New York Times, which has given about $1.4 million over the past 10 years to members of both parties. He and his wife have made additional donations totaling more than $800,000 over the same period, with the majority going to Republican candidates and organizations. The federal government is Emergent's prime customer. I mean, this is, you know, in my rant earlier, I was talking about how, you know, the 9/11 Commission never looked into Halliburton's no-bid contracts. Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton until the day he became vice president. And he ran that company to the ground. They were literally on the verge of bankruptcy. And now they're worth billions. Your tax dollars and mine. 9/11 Commission never looked into it because they couldn't, the way it was set up. There were Republicans on the panel. Well, this is the sort of thing. And H.R. 1, the For the People Act, which needs to be the second piece of legislation passed after the special prosecutor law or independent counsel law, will put an end or at least slow down a lot of this kind of stuff.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And if we want to have clean and honest elections in America, we need to get the damn dark money out of the system now.